This is Wednesday, May 10th. There are 70 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2017. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current is hyperactive.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley. Joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, everybody.
Also joining us tonight, Kim Twombly, Outside Comic-Con.
Hi, everyone.
And our special guest tonight is Todd Masters of Toddland.
Howdy, guys.
Woo!
All right. Yay. Okay, so we will be getting to the latest SDCC news in a bit, and there's also a little bit of a wrap-up on week 2 of Hotel Apocalypse. But first, let's chat with Todd. If you have any questions for Todd or us, tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We'll also be keeping on the YouTube live chat. Keep an eye on that if you want to make a comment there. So we're good to go. Let's go.
I think so. So, as James just said, we are here with the wonderful Todd of Toddland, who I have known for several years, and he's pretty awesome. But for people who don't know who or what Toddland is, Todd, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I don't know what Toddland is. Toddland changes all the time. Basically, Toddland is a clothing company that me and my friends started back in 2008. We were all kind of remnants of Paul Frank. We all used to work at Paul Frank Industries with the Little Monkey. And the company kind of changed direction, so we needed a home to go to. And if you can't find a good home, you just build one. So we basically came up with a company of just all under the concept of make rad stuff. It's stuff that we wanted and stuff we wanted to give our friends. And now 9 years later, we're still making rad stuff with the same people and just doing kind of fun stuff. We started out doing clothes with Urban Outfitters, Nordstrom's, Amazon, all those kind of things, and a bunch of other stores in like 20 countries and things. And then we were always going to Comic-Con. We were always fans of Comic-Con. We're pop culture nerds. That's kind of what we do. So we started kind of getting in closer with some of the licenses and some of our friends, and started working with them a little bit closer. So with us, our first venture into Comic-Con was with the Aquabats. So we did a bunch of merch with the Aquabats, and we're really good friends with those guys. And then that turned into doing stuff for Yo Gabba Gabba for Comic-Con, then with Cartoon Network with Adventure Time, and now for last year and for this year, doing stuff with Bob's Burgers and Fox, which is awesome.
It is awesome, and I'm so excited for like anything you guys have planned for this year, because last year you guys just blew it out of the park. I do want to hit on something that you just mentioned, though. Like you said, you guys used to go to Comic-Con like as fans, not as exhibitors. What was making that transition like?
It honestly, it's so much easier being a vendor than like a regular civilian. And I think that's why we try to do everything that we can for the fans and our friends we want everybody to be able to go to Comic-Con, because it was awesome when we used to go. And I mean, I can't say, oh, we're old timers. Like 10 years ago, we used to be able to buy the full day badges. And if you bought one the year before, you got to go the next year and that kind of thing. But I mean, it was stressful back then getting badges without kind of having the inside track for things. And I think it's the same level of stress now, but it's different. So I think all the stress that we used to go through to get hotels and parking and tickets and friends and time off work, that's all put aside now. And it's more on, oh my God, we're going to have 300 people in line. Comic-Con's in 70 days. I don't have a t-shirt graphic done. It's the same level of panic. It's just different panic. So like, I know where I'm parking. I don't know if we'll have t-shirts done. We will, but that's I think the main difference in that is I think the internal logistics for us are figured out for us because we're kind of guaranteed things, but we still panic and sweat that we get the hotel we want. And first 2 seconds parking's available, we log in for it. So I think it's still like the same level of things. We just don't sit in the waiting room. It's just waiting for the email to come and then hitting the buttons as fast as we can too as vendors. And no, even we can't get rooms at the Hilton Bayfront. Like we're not high enough the list to do that. So we stay in the same hotel every year. it's like the top of the B list. So it's kind of like being the smartest kid in the dumb class. Like we just don't ask for too much and we know what we'll get. So I'd say the stress level is the same. It's just totally different stress.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience too, though. Obviously, like exhibiting. Like, do you ever miss kind of being an attendee? And like, obviously, you have to stay at the booth most of the time now.
Yeah, we go to, again, we always go to WonderCon, and like we do a bunch of the other conventions and stuff too. So we do get to run around. What we do with all of our employees and like our friends at Toddland that work for us is we do usually half-day shifts, except for last year because the turnout was insane, and we ended up a couple days we slept in the back of the booth, and like it was chaos. Like we were too busy. But what we'll do is we try to work a half-day shift so our friends can work in the morning and then they get the afternoon off to go play around and be Comic-Con attendees. Or if they play around all morning, they work the afternoon, kind of a deal. So we always try to get everybody who works there to still get to experience a half day every day at Comic-Con. That's in theory. Usually we end up getting way too busy and we can't do it. But this year we're going to try to schedule everybody at least one day off to go run around. Every once in a while, I didn't get to last year, but usually I'll cosplay. So like I'll get to dress up as, usually I do a different version of Deadpool, but now I don't do that anymore. But you get to kind of run around incognito and you still get to be a fan. And it's good. Like 2-3 hours as a fan is enough. And then we run back to the booth and hide. So
That's funny. That's cool though.
Well, speaking of your booth, last year you started working with, I believe last year I started working with Bob's Burgers and Fox, and have done some amazing things with them. And I swung by your booth ever so quickly at Comic-Con, and I didn't really but at WonderCon this year, I got to actually take a look and take a photo, and it's really awesome.
Thank you.
Which for people that don't know, it's modeled after the restaurant in Bob's Burgers, with stools, and I don't know, it looks great. So how did you end up coming up with that?
Well, when we pitched it to Bob's, fortunately for us, like we're like designers. So like show creators and stuff tend to like us. So when we hit up Adventure Time, they took it to Cartoon Network and everything. And Penn Ward was like, "Oh no, I know Toddland," and we're like, "Wait, really? Like we're this big? Who knows us?" And they're like, "No, we want to do it. See what he'll do." So with Bob's, we kind of did the same thing. We talked to them and we're like, "Well, here's the deal. We want everybody. We kind of want to change what the con experience is for everybody." Because you go to a booth, everybody's got the same Funko Pops, everybody has a line, it's all this kind of stuff. Or you go through like the Hasbro and the Mattel and that thing. It's fun, but it's all the same. So what we wanted to do was give the fans an experience of you're in Bob's Burgers. Like if I'm a Bob's Burgers fan, what do I want to see at Comic-Con? Well, I want to see the restaurant. That's pretty cool.
And aprons and all.
I want to go to the restaurant and in Bob's Burgers, that's cool. And then, okay, we'll sell some t-shirts and stuff, that's fine. Hey, it's pretty funny if they're all dressed kind of like Bob. Okay, that's cool. Hey, let's make a back room like the kitchen. Okay, that's kind of cool. You know, it'd be cool, like the chalkboard. Let's make it something Comic-Con-ish. No. Let's make it a TV and flip through all 300 burgers. That's kind of funny. Okay, that's cool. No. You know what's cooler? Let the fans come in and take pictures in the booth. Okay, that's awesome. So our thought process is just completely scattered, and we kind of have the rules around here of 1, there's no adults, and 2, every idea is fair game and they'll work out. So I'm like, you know, it'd be cool if I went to a booth and got to see part of the show and buy merch and cosplay in it and have fun with the people working there. So that's kind of what I would like to do with other properties too. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say any of the ones we're trying to work with, but like, it'd be cool if I could go and experience that as a fan. But it's cooler if we can provide that to the fans. So that's kind of our idea with setting up the restaurant is like as a con goer for the experience, what envelops you? Like what's cool to do? Like I like what Comic-Con's doing with Star Wars. Like it's cool that it has its own whole area and they have the props there and all the vendors are in the same spot. Like that's cool because you're in Star Wars. And that's what we wanted to do with Bob's was you're in Bob's.
That's really cool. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, how early do you actually start? Plus, how long does it take you to get those exclusives ready? And what's the process like? I mean, how do you start? How do you come up with ideas? And how do you get them finished in time?
I would finish in time. We don't sleep. But in terms of like, we're already working on 2018. So with one of our, trying to think of how not to give away things. We're already working on 2018 for the licenses that we'll work with. I'm trying to be vague. The licenses that we'll work with for 2018, we're already working on things with them and some of the exclusives. So like now we're starting over a year out to kind of make some things happen. Approvals take a little while on some of the crazier things we want to make. T-shirts and stuff we can honestly do very fast. But little things happen pretty quick for us. We're pretty fast with wallets. Our vendors are very used to us giving it to them last second. And we've got things already that we have here for Comic-Con. And then we'll have things that we'll deliver on Wednesday morning to the hotel that we'll Uber back to get and then come back and get. So it's really a mix of everything, but we're pretty good about smoke and mirrors of not letting anybody see us sweat. So it's a long timeline. Like I said, we're trying to start on 2018 already because we want to do something crazier next year. But that's kind of how we do things. Like we always bite off way more than we can chew. And then we back up to something that's way cooler than if we would have just set the bar at a regular level. So
yeah, well, it's Comic-Con. Go big or go home, right?
That's we kind of explain it to everybody. Somebody's like, oh, what's Comic-Con? We're like, well, Comic-Con's basically the Super Bowl, but harder to get tickets to and way more people, and everybody's happy, and it's a week. They're like, no, it's not like that. We're like, no, that it's exactly like that.
How do you make the decision if you come up with an idea? How do you make the decision? Well, let's do an exclusive with that, or let's just make that a regular retail release.
It's kind of tricky. A lot of it depends on when we have to order it. So with some of the stuff that we can do pre-orders on, which has worked great for us, like Comic-Con was a little bumpy last year because it was the first time we tried it. WonderCon, we had 100% pickup. Almost everybody got what they wanted. It was great. So if it's something that we have to order before we can put pre-orders up, that kind of limits the number to it. And then anything we've got that's a WonderCon exclusive or a Comic-Con exclusive, we only make it for that. And then with us, like what we do is we don't sell any of that merch to any other retailers. So anything we make for WonderCon or Comic-Con or Bob's Burgers at the Orpheum, you can't get at the mall. You can't get in another store. It just doesn't exist because we only make it for that event.
I've talked to you about this offline before, but I absolutely love that you guys do like Comic-Con and WonderCon specific things. Like it's not even just like this is, a variant that's only going to be available at WonderCon, but like I loved that WonderCon shirt that you guys just did.
Thanks.
I think it's so cool that you guys like actually think about what the fans would want like that.
Well, and that's, I think, again, like even going back to when we started the company, it's stuff we want and want to give our friends. And if I go to WonderCon and it's Bob's Burgers, you're like, wait a minute, there's Wonder Wharf. And the kids are crazy. So what if the kids just took it over and nailed up a sign that says Con over Wharf? Like, oh my God, I love it. And that's what I want from WonderCon. Like, that's kind of what I want the San Diego Comic-Con queso burger shirt. Because you want something from there, but you also want it thought out as like something specific that it's tailored to that event kind of a deal. And that's why we like making that stuff. Because that's kind of what I want. Because you can get generic stuff from everybody, but it's like, oh, a different color variant and something. Okay, it's fine. I get it. That's easy. But we don't really care if it's easy. We care about if it's right. Like that's kind of how we want to make things.
And I think that's absolutely the right attitude to take to Comic-Con or to anything really. And let's talk a little bit about another event. So I know that you're involved in something called Bob's Burgers Live, but I know like Bob's Live, I think it is, and I know like next to nothing about it. So tell us about that.
Bob's Live is they're doing Bob's Burgers Live at the Orpheum in Los Angeles. Father's Day weekend. They sold out of the first show on Saturday, and they added a second show on Sunday. I think the show's like 80 or 90% sold out already. I think Saturday's completely sold out. I think Sunday has a few tickets left. It's Father's Day weekend, so take your dad. And what they're doing is they did Bob's Live last year, and I think they did a table read for it a couple times. And then I think they did a mini tour of like maybe 10 dates the year before. So this year it's just the 2 dates right now. It'll be up at the Orpheum. It's going to be a whole bunch of the songs from the show. So it'll be some stand-up comedy from the talent on the show. I know they've got a lot of music from the show. there's a lot of stuff that's happening that we aren't allowed to talk about yet. That's pretty cool. But that's what they're doing with Bob's Live. It's going to be awesome. There's a whole bunch of new stuff they're up to. And then we, since we're really good friends with Bento and Fox and all those guys, we get to do all the merch for it. So we'll be doing all new exclusive Bob's Burgers Live merch just for the event for those 2 days. And just like everything else we've done lately, we're going to do a pre-sale. So I think we'll have it available to buy for probably 2 or 3 weeks before we close it off. And then everybody can go pick it up when they get there. Because for a show, it's a little different than Comic-Con because everybody shops the whole time at Comic-Con and can come back. For the show, we know you'll have about an hour or two before the show to shop. And then everybody's going to go inside and watch the show, including us. And then after the show, everybody's got like an hour or two to buy their stuff and get out. So what we'll do is we'll pre-order everything. We'll probably have 2 booths set up in there where one is all merch and then the other one is pickups. So that way it goes a little bit faster. So we've gotten a lot better with our line management. WonderCon worked pretty well. And then Comic-Con this year, we're moving and there's some other cool stuff that's happening. But we just want to get the fans in and out as fast as they can because they're going to want to take pictures in the booth and all those kind of fun things. So we'll bring the whole booth to the show. But we know I think that place seats 4,000 or 5,000 people over the weekend kind of deal. That's a lot of people to push through that are all explicit Bob's Burgers fans. So if we can pre-sell, they get their sizes they want. They get exactly what they want. They don't have to wait in a 3-hour line to find out that the new exclusive pin sold out kind of a deal. They just walk up and they pick it up and it's cool. And we're also doing the same thing we always do. Friends can pick it up. So if you have a friend going to the show and you're not going, you can go ahead and put their name on the list and then we ID them, ask them some goofy questions, and then they can pick it up for their friends.
Well, awesome. I think we might have a couple of questions from our readers, if you're cool with that.
Totally. I was going to say, the chat's not really loading for me, but.
Okay. That's okay. All right. Well, Stephanie L asked, will the booth be Bob's Burgers again this year at Comic-Con?
Yep. Oh, I was going to say, it just popped up. Yeah, the booth right now is Bob's Burgers. It's the same one we've got from WonderCon. There was a little bit of concern that Jimmy Pesto's is on the wrong side when we build the wall. But it all has to do with how we get there and which way the booth faces. So the wall moves and the whole thing's covered with t-shirts anyway, so you can't really see it. But yes, due to Bob's Burgers canon, Jimmy Pesto's is on the wrong side. But that's the only way we can get people in the booth. So it'll be the same booth, the same burgers. We're going to redo the back room a little bit just because I hate that you can see the white grid and I know nobody cares, but I do. So we're going to change that a little bit. And we're up to something else that I'm not allowed to talk about yet for Comic-Con with the booth. But everybody will be stoked on it. So.
Well, that sounds exciting.
It is. I'm not sleeping because of it, but it will be exciting.
Well, an Englishman in San Diego asked, speaking about the booth, have you ever had a celebrity that's come over to your booth and fanned out over Toddland?
Yeah, we get, it's weird when they come over and they'll show us, do I have one? Like everybody likes to show us their wallets. So we get a lot of like, oh, hey, here's my cheeseburger wallet. And you're like, cool. And I mean, I'm not going to throw which celebrities come over all the time, but it's weird. When we all worked at Paul Frank, we had a lot of celebrities there that would come by, mainly musicians and stuff. So you kind of get used to them. They're weird. They're just like us. They're normal people. So it's not that weird for us to have them swing by. And like we have talent in the booth all the time. So that's pretty cool too. But a lot of them will stop by and no matter who they are, they always catch you off guard because you're standing there and then you'll look over and you're like, oh, hey, you're Breckin Meyer. What's up, dude? Like, Robot Chicken's awesome. He's like, thanks, dude. Like, I like your wallets. I'm like, thanks, dude. Like, it's just, they're just normal fans like we are. And I think that's kind of what the magic of Comic-Con is. I mean, like a couple years ago when they had all the Batmobiles at the Hilton, we're out there talking about the Batmobiles. There was like 3 of us and Kevin Smith for like an hour and a half just talking about Batmobiles. And that wasn't weird. He was just another dude out there liking Batmobiles. And we're like, that's Kevin Smith. But they stopped by the booth and stuff. And the one year we were staying at we were staying at one of the hotels and Peter Jackson was in the room next to us. And one of our guys walked out because, I mean, it's Comic-Con. We have the same things you guys do. There's 8 of us to a room. There's spring break rules. People are on the floor. There's pillow forts down the middle of the things. we do the same thing everybody else does at $400 a night a room. But one of our guys was hopping in the shower. We were walking out to go to the show, and he opens the door really quick, and Peter Jackson's standing in the hallway. And Garrett's like, "You're Peter Jackson," and he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're not wearing any clothes." And Garrett's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, good talk." And then Garrett went and took a shower. Peter Jackson went to his room. And then 5 minutes, Garrett walks out, and there's 2 guards standing outside Peter Jackson's room, obviously for the right reasons. But that's kind of the magic of Comic-Con, is we never know who's going to pop into the booth or who you're going to see wearing a towel in the hallway or any of that stuff. And it's cool. Like, obviously the talent from the show all stops by. And then sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know when they're coming by. And then we're pretty good about, we're pretty good on Twitter while we're there. So like if we know something's happening or somebody's coming by and we start getting a little weird or ominous on Twitter, something's up. So I know last year with, you have to hold raffles to get a ticket to meet somebody to stand in line with your whole family. And no, we're about the fans. So I know like we tweeted the one day, hey, if you're in Bob's cosplay today, come by the booth first thing. So we had everybody come down, and everybody who's in cosplay like, hey, we got your tweet. What's up? And we're like, here's a little yellow ticket, a little golden ticket. Come back at 11 o'clock. And then all the Bob's cosplayers came back, and we had Lauren, the creator from the show, in the booth. So the only way you could meet him is if you saw our tweet and you were in cosplay and you came down. So they all got to take pictures with them. He doodled for them. He hung out with them. It was cool. It wasn't super rushed, go crazy, 10 people in line who don't know who he is. It was none of that. So we try to do those kind of things for the fans.
Again, I think that's awesome. Like, I think that's absolutely the way to do Comic-Con. Did we have any other questions that we wanted to ask from the chat, James?
I think just will we be getting any Toddland prize mule droppings?
100%. I think
yes.
so. Yeah, I think we've already.
Yeah.
I think we gave them a bunch of stuff, and there's always more stuff. So,
The prize mules like to squirrel it away until it's time. So
yeah, I think
Yes.
we gave them a bunch of stuff, and then there'll be a bunch of new stuff too. Because again, like we're fans too, and we want the fun stuff. So, and the prize mule is a cool thing. It's a good way to get things and get a bunch of like diverse stuff from everybody, and it's fun to kind of follow them around and see what they're doing. But yeah, we definitely, anytime we can give away stuff, we'll do that. I know we're doing, one of the fans is doing the meetup again. I know this weekend, I think there's a meetup at Ontario. I think there's a con up there, and I think she's doing a meetup up there, Teen Apocalypse is. And then at Comic-Con, we'll do the same thing we did for WonderCon, a big fan meetup. And at WonderCon, we had one of the artists from the show, and the voice of Hawk was there. So they showed up and surprised all the fans, and they had like some posters that were only available there, and they gave everybody, and they took pictures with them. So we're trying to do more stuff like that that's fan specific, that if you're a Bob's fan, you show up and you get to meet one of the artists, and you get to meet a voice actor, and here's some posters and here's some cool stuff, and just hang out. So I think we're one thing I will say is I know we're working on a special thing just for people that go to that. So there'll be a little thing that you only get if you go there. And if you're a fan, because it's we want to treat the fans right. Like that's why Comic-Con works. That's why Toddland works. Without them, it doesn't. So it's how we want to be treated from everybody else. So that's what we do. Oh, I was just saying, I got the chat up. Sleeping in the back of the booth. Are we allowed to do that? We are not. But it was during work hours, so we had for us, it's a little crazy because whatever time Comic-Con opens, we're always there like an hour and a half before. So we're there at like 7 or 8 in the morning. And then by the time everything shuts down and it's done at 7 or 8 at night, we're friends with a lot of the vendors, and a lot of our friends fly in from out of town. So like we're really good buddies with the crew over at Mondo. We're friends with Kid Robot. We know the whole Funko crew. We know everybody but Hasbro. So Hasbro, if there's anybody out there who wants to befriend us, that's the only thing we don't have figured out. And we're looking for new Hasbro best friends. But we work the whole time. And then by the time you go out and everything, you get back to the hotel room at like 2 in the morning. And then you got to get 6 or 7 people up and showered and ready to go and back in. So the one day it was so exhausting that at like noon, I think we crawled into our little window and 2 of us just slept in the back and just kind of covered up with all the pillows and took a nap because it was a long night the night before. Fun, but it was a long night.
I want to go and ask this one from the chat.
It's
just 'cause
fantastic.
I think you'll enjoy it. Which one? I don't know that we have the same one, Kim.
Oh, go ahead then.
No, you go first.
Robert M asks, who do we have to grease to get you a walk-on appearance on Last Man on Earth?
I think how do I phrase this? I know Will on Twitter was tweeting that everybody needs to watch the show because the show is on the bubble. So I don't think anybody's going to have a part on the show unless the show keeps going. So I think that's the first issue that we've got to do. But hopefully the show gets renewed and they keep going, because that's for those of you watching the podcast that don't know, I always dress up as Will Forte from Last Man on Earth for Comic-Con. Nobody cosplays as Last Man on Earth. I'm the guy that does it. So the first year I showed up in with the green hoodie and the green hoodie and the headband and the underwear. So I'm walking around Comic-Con in my underwear dressed like Will. And then we get up to the Fox booth and Will freaks out and Kristen freaks out. It was a whole thing and it was hilarious. And they shot a promo for it. And it was funny. So then last year I show up as the Tandy Bomb. So I have a whole ghillie suit dressed up like a Christmas tree. I was doing that, but it was funny because we were at one of the Last Man events up in LA, and Will and Kristen recognized me, and they couldn't be any nicer. But I get up there and Kristen's yelling at Will, and Kristen knows us from Bob's too, and she's like, "Hey, Will, Todd's here," and he's like, "What underwear is he wearing?" So now anytime me and Will see each other, there's usually pictures of me and him showing each other our underwear, and it's weird, but it's hilarious. So and he's like, "Are you shaving the beard?" Because that's when they shave the beard in half. I'm like, "I'm not shaving the beard." It's like, "What are you doing for Comic-Con this year?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you." They're like, "No, tell us. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you." So then I showed up in the whole ghillie suit. It was a whole thing again, and it was hilarious. But I really hope the show gets renewed. We love that show. We're watching that right now. We're watching Baskets. Obviously, we watch Bob's. We love Rick and Morty. But yeah, we're really hoping Last Man gets picked up again for another season.
Well, we'll know soon. Upfronts are next week.
Is that when they announce everything?
Yes, it's actually a lot of it's being announced this week, so we'll probably actually hear this week. But
I know what I should show everybody. Hold on.
While he's gone, I think we can actually answer this question. Will there be a Bob's Burgers themed type of restaurant eat during Comic-Con from Pac-Man? I don't think that's Todd's area. I think that would be a Fox thing, and we don't know if there is going to be one.
What was the question?
If there's a Bob's restaurant that's going to pop up in the cast.
Right now, there's not.
Yeah.
So with anytime we're doing like any of the big licenses and stuff, there's Bento Box, which runs the show Bob's, and then there's us that does a lot of the merchant stuff for them, and then there's Fox, 20th Century Fox Home Goods. There's so many divisions that we don't always know what's happening with all the divisions. So all I can say now is I don't know of one happening. So
all right.
That's the best answer I've got. So, but this is what I ran and got. So last time we did Last Man on Earth, I made this portrait of Dog on Bridge by Monet and Carol from the show. So then I took it up and Kristen signed it for me. So as far as I know, I've got the only one in the world. And she's like, "Did you make that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I made it." She's like, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I'm a professional graphic designer. It wasn't really that difficult." So that's my prized possession that hangs in the office that I got to walk around Comic-Con in my underwear with. So, but totally worth it.
that's amazing. Well, you wouldn't tell Will Forte, but maybe you'll tell us a little. Is there anything that you can tease about this year's Comic-Con?
What have we got going on? I think the floor map's out. Is the floor map out yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well, I think I can say where we are. So that's kind of a big deal. As everybody knows, who's very, very patient with us, we're usually one booth in from the corner next to Warner Brothers. So when the chaos of Game of Thrones is happening and everything, we usually pack up shop and just hide in our booth and then stand on top of the chairs and yell Hodor. I think the Aquabats were throwing gummy burgers at George R.R. Martin one year from the booth. So we're usually over there. But what happens is no matter how fast we work, we always have a big line, and we've gotten better every year with that. We fixed it this year. So we end up blocking a lot of the booths, and they're our friends. So we're right next to Fat Rabbit. We love Fat Rabbit. We were right next to those kids, and they're saints. We love them. And then just down from us is Jermaine Rogers, and Jermaine's amazing. Everybody in our row's cool, but we end up blocking every single one of their booths for usually the first day and a half. No matter what we do, it's hard not to. So we become kind of a problem in a good way, in terms of like a Kid Robot Funko problem. So we're moving. So this year we're moving directly next to Fox. So we are on the main aisle on the corner, one away from Fox. So usually where Cinema Makeup School is, that's the new Toddland spot, which is crazy. And we ran around screaming for about an hour when we found out that's where we were moving. So it was kind of awesome. So I'm not gonna lie, we were super stoked on that, because they're like, well, no, Fox has 300 people in line, you guys have 200 in line. That it makes sense. It's the only place we could go. And we're like, oh yeah, totally, we're good with that. So that's one huge announcement we have, is placement. So love that. And then the other thing I think I can say, it's Toddland. I'm Todd. I can do whatever I want. We're partnered up with Kid Robot. So we did a couple Kid Robot tees for WonderCon, and we had the exclusive worldwide drop on the 3-inch Bob's minis. I can say that for Comic-Con, there is an exclusive Kid Robot Toddland blind box, and I'll just leave it at that. So it's. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, we're fans too. But the fact that we're somewhere now as a company that I get to work with Kid Robot on an exclusive mini that I have hundreds of with Bob's Burgers, which is something that I love, it freaks me out. Like that's insane. Like I grew up in Michigan. I'm from a cornfield. I know how to drive a combine, but now I get to work with Kid Robot and Bob's and Will Forte shows me his underwear. Like it's a weird thing for me. Like it's crazy that we get to do things like that. Like, hey, Kid Robot, can we do an exclusive mini with you? They're like, yes. What do you want to do? Like, I want to do these. They're like, okay, yeah, we're in. I was like, wait, this can happen? And they're like, yeah, we love you guys. Whatever you want. Like, this is amazing. So like that I can say we're doing. I can't say how many there are or what they are, but they're delivering on time, so they'll be here before the show, and we're trying to figure out the best way to do it. You can definitely pre-order online though, because we know it'll be chaos trying to get them. Kid Robot's had a lot of success with their blind boxes ordering online and just picking up, so we're doing pretty much that same model. I just don't know if we're going to limit it to 2 or 4 per person yet. But they are blind boxed, and we want to make sure all the fans get them. So we might hold some back each day just to make sure that everybody has a chance. So everybody, once the pre-orders are cleared out, what we'll do is we'll take whatever's left. If there's 100 left after all the pre-orders are booked, then we'll release 25 a day, kind of a deal. So that way there's still a chance for people to get them. So we, like I said, we're fans too. So waiting in line at Hallmark and Hasbro and Mattel and everything and just sucking half your day is terrible. So we don't want that to happen, and we want everybody to get them without having to pay eBay and flipper prices. So that's our goal. We made enough, hopefully, for everybody. So hopefully that works for us. But yeah, those are the two main things. We have something crazy going on with the booth, but we can't say yet. And then we'll do some stuff with the meetup. But yeah, I think that's it. I mean, what we want to do too is that the fans, if, like I said, we're working on 2018 already too. If anybody has any ideas of who they think we should work with, we're always open to hear those kind of things. Like, we know who we want and who we're working with and what we're up to, but it's always fun when somebody's like, you should make this. And we're like, that's an absolutely stupid idea. No. Or you should make this. We're like, that's an absolutely stupid idea. Yes, we're totally doing it. So like we actually do listen to our fans. We like to say that Toddland is an occasional democracy. So we basically just cherry pick the things we like and we do those. But if somebody's like, you should do the Muppets, yeah, we should totally do the Muppets, but that's even out of our range. So, but yeah, it's pretty crazy that like we get to work with Adventure Time and Bob's, and we did, I think I can talk about it. We did a secret Star Wars project a couple years ago too. And that was kind of the highlight of, we can't say what it was, but that was pretty freaky when you get, I mean, it's a 400-page contract you have to sign to get the rights to the Lucasfilm archives. But literally that was like every day in the office for 14 hours just going through Han Solo screen test shots of just like, this is the most insane thing I've ever done. And you just freak out. But we're fans too. We just are lucky enough to have a booth and get to make cool stuff for our friends and our fans.
Well, it absolutely could not have happened to a nicer guy, Todd. And I am so excited to see everything that you're doing this year. And I'm so happy that like everything is going so well for you guys. Before we go ahead.
Two real quick questions.
Yep.
From Twitter. There will be no Comic-Con badge needed for the meetup, correct?
Yes. As far as I know, Tina, get on the Facebook page. It's Tina Apocalypse. She handles them and we work with her on those things. I know there was an issue with WonderCon because it was scheduled for the fountain and then WonderCon had moved the gates back where you did need a badge for it. So I know her whole goal is to not have a badge. Okay. And as far as I know at Comic-Con, it's you only need badges to get in the building. So I'm pretty positive she'll put it somewhere where everybody can get at it. Because I know that was an issue at WonderCon and that was not the goal.
Okay. And the other question is, do you have any start date for pre-orders, or is it just soon?
We're looking at, it's actually on this sheet right here. We're looking at probably around the first week of June. So for the Orpheum, this is how giant companies work. The Orpheum, we're looking at probably putting stuff up around 5:15, 5:20-ish probably, and selling to like the first week of June for the Father's Day stuff. And then for Comic-Con, we're looking at probably putting stuff up right after that. So probably around first week of June. And then we'll probably cut them off maybe end of June kind of a deal. Like they'll still be up, but what we'll do is we'll pre-order. We know like the amount we'll make. We'll limit it to like 200 pieces or whatever. And then we'll put up a pre-order of a certain amount. And then once that pre-order is sold out or we cap the time on it, we'll make like an extra 50 to take to Comic-Con. So that way we do our best to make sure some things don't sell out. So that way everybody who pre-ordered it has a chance, but then everybody who goes to the con still has a chance in case they didn't pre-order. The only issues is there's a few things that we have to get made overseas because we can't do them here. So there's a very strict regimented amount of, we have 250 of this, and when it's gone, it's gone. We can't make any more. So that's the only thing that gets a little tricky with the pre-orders. But what we try to do with the shirts is we try to make all the sizes. So that way up for pre-order, we go from extra small to 4X. And it's amazing how many of the fans are so appreciative of that because there's not a lot of stuff that comes in bigger sizes at con. Everything's pretty much small through extra large. It's men's, get over it. Well, no, fans, it's whatever size you want to be. It doesn't matter to us. So like if you can order a 3X or a 4X, cool, get it. And they're so happy we make that stuff for them. And I'm like, you're a fan. I don't care what size you are. It doesn't matter to us. So we try to do that and leave it open as long as we can. Because what'll happen is we won't make any extra 4Xs to take to con. So if you're a fringe size, like an extra small or a 3X or a 4X, we recommend everybody pre-orders it because what happens is those sizes they don't sell very well for us. So I can't have 10 of them in the booth because then we get stuck with them. So it's safer for me to buy 10 more extra mediums than 10 4Xs. So that's why we try to keep the pre-orders open as long as we can for everybody. So, and plus if somebody misses out on something, we really do our best to try to help them after con. We get a lot of sad stories of things that get destroyed, or you were in your Louise Bunny Ears hoodie in a car wreck and now the whole thing's covered in blood. Do you have another one? Well, they sold out years ago, but yeah, sometimes we can find things. So like I said, we're fans. We do our best to kind of get everything they all want. We want to be the less stressful thing of Comic-Con for them. So.
Well, before we have you go, Todd, why don't you tell us where people can find you and Toddland online and on social media?
We are on the interwebs, toddland.com. That's the easiest place. And then on Twitter and Instagram, we're Toddland Store. And then I think on the Facebook, we are Toddland Store as well. We answer all of them. We kind of pay attention to everything. Twitter, we use a little bit more just for Comic-Con than general Toddland stuff. Instagram, we kind of do whatever we want on there. Paul, one of the guys who works with us, he kind of set the tone for Toddland before. He's like, it's Toddland. Nobody's paying attention. So we can literally do whatever we want. Lately, it's been a bunch of Star Wars posts, just because now we get to it. Like I said, we get to nerd out. So like now we're an official Hasbro vendor where I get to carry the Star Wars 6-inch Black Series, which is amazing. In reality, it's just so me and my friends don't have to go to Target and try to find them. But it's still pretty cool. So we've been posting a lot of that stuff on there lately. We try not to be a company that just posts like, here's a new hat, buy it. Everybody does that. We try to be a little bit more interesting with stuff. And anytime anybody emails us or tweets at us or Instagram messages us, as long as it's not inappropriate or stupid, we get back to almost every single thing. Just because that's kind of what we expect of other people. Cliffy does all that stuff. He's a trooper. But yeah, that's kind of the best place to find us. It gets a little hectic when people are tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking and emailing us on things. But it works out. It's okay. We just take a breath and we're good. But if anybody needs anything, they can always email info at toddland.com. I'd say sign up for our email list, but we don't really use it. We'll pop it out a couple times for Comic-Con, and it's really just because we don't know how. I think on our email sign up it says, don't worry, we won't spam you because we don't know how, and nobody will offer us money for our mail list. So you really have nothing to worry about because we don't know who to sell the list to, and we don't know how to spam you. So you really get a couple emails at Christmas, and then we'll annoy you at Comic-Con, and then we go away for a while. So you can find us. It's harder to ignore us than it is to find us. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure we will talk soon.
Awesome. You guys know where to find me.
That we do. All right. And I believe that we will be staying on to talk about some Comic-Con news.
Perfect.
So let's get right into that.
Thanks, Todd.
Later, guys. Thank you.
Todd.
So the major thing this week was the second part of Hotel Apocalypse and the second wave of emails.
Yeah, so that started on Monday. Like James just said, the second round of emails went out on Monday, and we still have a whole lot of questions, as always, about how all of this works. We saw a lot more Mission Valley than downtown hotels in the second round, but we did see quite a few downtown. And to me, the biggest question is, like, were those downtown hotels the returned inventory from round one, or were they, like, just emails that didn't get sent last week and there's really no rhyme or reason to the order that these emails went out? I would love to have an answer for that, but no one will answer me, so I don't think we're gonna get one.
Have we figured out yet how to do an audible shruggy? Because I mean, we can do a visual one, but we can't do an audio.
There were sounds for like a day on this stupid Google Hangout chat, but there's no sounds anymore. I'm pretty sad.
Shrug.
Shrug.
So yeah, I mean, it just seemed, and then a lot of people didn't get emails and are wondering what's going on, and it's just kind of the usual mess.
As
basically,
always, it's just on peak. It's just an on peak hotel cell, basically. You can just leave it at that. So yes, so no one is 100% certain what's really going to happen on this upcoming Monday. On Peak officially said, let me pull up this tweet. If you didn't get a room and requested to waitlist, stay tuned for an email on next steps. So everyone's kind of assuming that email may come on Monday. Now, I don't know if that email is going to be like, click here to view the waitlist hotels, or if it's going to be like, waitlist will be in 2 weeks, or none of the above. So we'll just kind of see what happens on Monday. If you did get a hotel in round 2, you have until tomorrow night to go ahead and pay your deposit to confirm that. Do we have any questions about Hotel Apocalypse? I mean, it's all pretty much the same as last week, which is mostly we don't know a whole lot more than you do, as always.
I don't see any questions because How do you question something that, I mean, you can question I don't understand, but
You question it.
it's just lots of no actual specific questions though.
No. I mean, I think everyone at this point is just like I said last week, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. The way we do it doesn't make sense. The results don't make sense. I would truthfully rather they just like open the form up, we fill it out, they randomize us on the end, and then I don't know if I'm getting screwed. And maybe I'm not now. Like maybe there's some algorithm again where all of this makes sense, but it certainly doesn't always feel that way. So I don't know.
Do you think On Peak is like the just brought their company over from the upside down or something? It just came through the portal and just set up business here?
I mean, that's as good of a theory as any. Mine is that they tape all of our forms to a wall and just throw darts. So
actually, here's a question. Melody on the chat says, do you guys suggest for us to try and get a hotel around the area if we haven't gotten one? I mean, as long as it's not a non-refundable, because again, the wait list has options, and there typically are Mission Valley hotels available up until basically right before the con.
Yes.
So
let me go over this again. So even though there's a ton of people right now who like have not gotten an email, and that's like crazy stressful, the wait list will open up and people always get through off the wait list. And even then, when they close the wait list, they basically open up what's like the inventory that's left to anybody. And there are always Mission Valley hotels left at con rate. So if you don't care what hotel you get, like just wait it out. There will be something like either on the shuttle route or very much within walking distance to the shuttle route. There will be a hotel.
Or near the trolley to be able to take the trolley in, which is always a good option.
Yes.
Especially if you're going to get one, even if you book off of the Comic-Con system. If you book one of the hotels further out, like 15 or 20 miles out, just find one that's close to a trolley and book that. And some of those are actually going to be, even though they're going to be more expensive than you would expect, like a Motel 6 for, $100 to $150. But it's still going to be cheaper than most of the rooms in the Comic-Con sale itself, and you'll be right on the trolley line.
Well, again, the thing
or close
is,
enough to it.
The thing is, like at Comic-Con, you spend so little time in your room. Like ultimately, like how many hours do you really think you're going to be sleeping at Comic-Con? Because if this is your first con, I've got news for you. It's not going to be many. It's just not. So staying further out is absolutely not the end of the world. But really, if your concern is just, I don't have any hotel room, like, oh my God, am I going to be sleeping on the concrete? Like something will open up.
Right. Okay.
So.
And then for other news, I think there's some offsites going around again. Kim, you want to let us know about some of those?
Yes. Well, as Todd mentioned, there's the Bob's Burgers meetup was announced the other day. And I kind of briefly visited the one at WonderCon when it was still by the fountain, which was a thing. But, lots of costumers. If you're in costume, you have to go to this. And as he mentioned, there's going to be some awesome giveaways, and who knows who's going to show up. So, it was, I think, 4 p.m. Friday, I want to say, but they have a Facebook event page. And do check that and our events list to see if anything's moving around, but it should be somewhere outside the convention center so anyone can get to it. Announced by Adult Swim was the Rick and Morty Rickmobile, which will be rolling into town, kind of a mobile store that they have, and their Instagram has posted some t-shirts and other goodies that will be available for sale. And I'm going to guess this is going to be in the Petco Park Interactive Zone.
That's what I think too. And this looks like really cool. People seem really excited about this.
So unless we hear that the interactive zone is no more, but I'm going to guess it's still going to be there. And no construction has happened there yet, unlike some of the other parking lots. So, but we will stay tuned. And they're cruising the country. So I think they're in Georgia tomorrow and then heading through New York and Pennsylvania and Virginia and to Oregon. So if check their website on adultswim.com and you might see him before Comic-Con. And then also announced was yet another Kevin Smith show at the American Comedy Company, which was Hollywood Babylon. And he's done this, it's been a few years that he's had that show. So that's his third show. So if you like Kevin Smith, you are in luck.
You have a multitude to choose from.
Many shows to choose from. So that's very exciting. Last year at Comic-Con was the first time I went to the American Comedy Company, and it's a really neat venue. So any shows there, do check out. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommended. So, and then lastly, we have the Rave of Thrones was announced for the Omnia nightclub, which for their second year, by Hodor himself, and I hope I say his name right, which is Christian Niern, I want to say. So Hodor from Game of Thrones, as most people know him, but he has this Rave of Thrones, and I did not attend last year, but videos from he's done shows around the world, and they just look amazing. Last year, there was a sad lack of Game of Thrones costumes. So I'm really hoping people step it up this year. I will walk by again, or maybe hopefully attend, and I would like to see some more Game of Thrones costumes. That's all I ask.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. Just in kind of like housekeeping, I wanted to mention we have actually started doing a new weekly section called Con Flashback on the site. And it's basically where our team will be looking back at memories from conventions of the past. Last week, a couple of us did our very first panel. And if you have any suggestions for a topic, like favorite offsite ever, best line waiting experience, biggest regret, we would absolutely love to know. And we're also always asking you guys then to share like your experiences as well. I think this could be fun though. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know.
Favorite burrito?
The ballpark? Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, just in general, things to keep track of. It is week 2 of the parking sale. Group 2 is currently able to purchase their parking passes, and right now only the convention center is sold out. There's a new group every Monday, and then anything left will go on sale to the general public on June 12th.
And there's always parking left over. It's typically only the convention center and Bayfront that sell out, with occasionally another like couple days and some random lots.
By the way, Jonathan K. in the chat said Lolitas for best burritos, and I concur.
That's funny. Well, maybe you and Jonathan can meet up and have a burrito. Jonathan's actually a cool guy. I know him.
Of course he is. He suggested Lolitas. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Agree with the Lolitas. We are also giving away 2 tickets to HopCon, which is very exciting. Some more information on that can be found on the website.
Absolutely. And then we have some awesome special guests lined up for the podcast all season, starting next week with one of my favorite people, Darren DePaul, who you might know as the voice of Reinhardt in Overwatch or Emperor Valkorion from Star Wars: The Old Republic. And he's actually on Geek and Sundry Signal Boost. He's just an all-around awesome human being and a huge Comic-Con geek. So I think it'll be a lot of fun next week. And with that, did we have any more questions that we needed to get to? And if you're watching live now, Toddland is actually in the chat on YouTube right now answering some questions if you have any questions that he didn't get around to answering live. But do we have any other questions on YouTube or on Twitter or anything like that, James?
I do not see any others about that. Or about no questions, no comments. I guess that means, the news will start picking up soon. So
yes,
expect a lot more, and it just it exponentially piles on every week.
Yes, it's a very fast speed into chaos from here on out.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yes. So with that, I think we're pretty much done. Make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. And I'm going to try to start sending those out next week. I need to talk to my graphic designer girl, but hopefully next week we'll start those up again.
And as always, our Under the Tents column is back. It's blissfully at only once a day, but I shouldn't say sadly, but it will excitingly go to 2 a day very soon, which means we're getting so close. But check that out on the website.
Yep. And so thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Todd from Toddland coming on and being our guest today. We hope you'll join us every week as we bring you news, opinions, and special guests leading up to San Diego Comic-Con 2017. Kim, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Thank you. I'm at Outside Comic-Con on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and website is outsidecomiccon.com. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon. James, where can we find more of your work?
I am everywhere online at Dan Regal, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for the photography of my wife and I.
And I wanted to remind everybody again that you should absolutely follow Toddland on Twitter because they are awesome. Again, their Twitter handle is at Toddland Store. Todd's an awesome guy. We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody, go
Shawarma.